Hello everybody and welcome to our day early comic review video. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And we're with infinityfluxcomics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every single week after the comics have been delivered and we bagged and board them, Andy and I, we divide up the 10 that each of us most want to read, 10 apiece. We read them and we tell you all the juicy little details, all the first appearances, all that. But really, even more so, especially with like a lot of the number ones, we tell you what the books are about. Mm-hmm. We tell you about the creative teams. We're trying to make it when you go in your store, whatever day of the week you go in, you know which of the new comics you most want to read. So this week was a little bit of an anomaly because UPS, because of the Memorial Day holiday, didn't deliver our stuff on time. So Andy and Matt did a part 1 to our show yesterday, which is the normal day we do our show, where they went over the DC books. There were just a few of them.
Yep.
Today we're going to go over all the rest. So we're going to go through Marvel, IDW, Indie, Image, all that stuff. I think in total I'm doing 9 and you're doing 9, I'm doing 8. So we're doing 17 books, all the variants, and all the incentives.
So if you want to see the DC ones, go back and watch our last video.
Our part 1 video.
And you will get all of those. Combine those two in your head, and you got a full show there. But we did want to let you know that all the books are available right now at infinityflux.net, where you can head over there, you can pre-order some comics, you can order these comics we're going to be talking about today, you can subscribe to series. When you subscribe, you get 10% off of the books that you are subscribed to. So let's get into it with probably...
Yeah, I know you have the book most people want to hear most about.
The book most people want to talk about, and the book that people have been talking about for the longest, probably.
Correct.
So this is Amazing Spider-Man number 26. This is the big one. It got leaked a couple of weeks ago, about a week and a half ago or whatever.
About who dies.
Yes. That was kind of what the story was leading up to. We knew someone had to die. There was a lot of theories out there, but some panels leaked online. I'm assuming, I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm gonna assume most people know what happens. You know, websites were not trying to hide it. It was the top stories.
Top stories on every website. I mean, everybody who's been coming in our shop, you know, basically knows what happened.
Yes, exactly. So a little bit about the issue. This does wrap up kind of, I'm not sure if the overall story has a title, but it's essentially the What Did Peter Do 26 issue epic that's been going on, where Peter has had so much going on with him being separated from Mary Jane. We found out where she had been when they got pulled through this portal. So in this issue, we do learn I'll say kind of the secret history of Paul, who is Mary Jane's I don't think technically husband.
Everyone's favorite new character.
Oh,
Paul.
People love Paul. But we do find out who he is, and what I think is really cool, where Peter basically is like, you need to tell us who you are, because you're not from our universe. You're from there, aren't you? And there's still some mysteries to be revealed about all that you'll have to read. But our big villain, Raven, which I think is how you pronounce his name, he's got to somehow, it seems like, kill Mary Jane to become a god tier villain. So that's his goal in this issue, as well as he summons a giant kind of Mayan serpent that the Fantastic Four and Gold Goblin are dealing with. So it's a big climactic final issue of this story. But the big thing that happens, I won't give away how it happens because that is part of the story, is the death of Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. So that's the big thing in this. You'll have to read to find out how it happens. Even that's been kind of spoiled online a little bit, but I'll leave that up for you to enjoy. As dark enjoyment as you get out of a superhero's death.
I haven't read it, but I will go ahead and guess they stretch her till she snaps.
Not this time. But
And like a rubber band, a piece of her hits Peter. It's like, ow.
yeah, that's gonna be the follow-up series. Is he's gonna have the scar? No, but it's a really interesting wrap up for this story. I'm really looking forward to what happens next because I feel like this whole story has been 26 issues of one story. And we know the next one's going to be with like Ed McGuinness doing art. A lot of interesting stuff. So I'm very excited to see what happens now that this has been laid out and we know what's coming. There's all the teases about the upcoming one-shot issues and all the fallout from this major death. But yes, this will probably be the one most people are picking up
Man, I
tomorrow.
can't believe Miss Marvel will never be in a comic book again.
It's a real shame right before that movie
Unbelievable.
she's going to be in that they really did not talk to each other, the comics and the movies. But this is our A cover. Ramita Jr. does all the art in this. We also have this spoiler variant. Spoiler, it's dark. No, so this is interesting. I don't know if we've ever seen really a spoiler cover like this. So this is like a glossy stock
outer cover.
Cover where you open it up, and since I've already said it, here is the spoiler interior by Gary Frank.
Yeah,
It's a really nice cover.
We build this as a spoiler light show. You know, if something is just kind of out there
Yeah.
in a very obvious way, sorry.
It's the least spoilery spoiler.
And to us, we know there's more of you out there that want to see what this cover looks like than the ones who are like, yeah, I've been holding my fingers in my ears for
Yeah.
the last, 2 weeks as every comic site has reported what happens in this issue.
So here is the Bianchi variant. Here is the Talaski variant. I really like this one, the Spider-Verse variant. Here is the 1 in 25 Laraz variant that we're selling for $20.
Okay, so the first one I'm going to go over is Edge of the Spider-Verse #2, which has Spinstress on the cover. She is the spider from like the Disney Princess universe. I will go ahead and say there's a first appearance of another character in this named Sky Spider. There are only 2 stories in this. A lot of these Edge of Spider-Verses have 3. There are just 2, and the Spintress story is really long. Like, it's almost a full issue. The Sky Spider story is less of the issue, like a third of it. But what I'll say is there's some new Spinstress characters from our universe. Like, this right here is Mary Jane Watson. Mary spelled Merry, like Robin Hood is Merry Men. And so since they've kind of gender swapped that, that Spinstress is the Peter Parker of the world, Mary Jane Watson is sort of the love interest, which I thought was really cool and funny. So the Spinstress story, if you really want them to lean into the Disney princess world, they really do. I mean, it is a musical, except you can't hear the music. But I mean, it's written where people get songs in it. Spinstress does a bunch of songs. There's even a Craven the Huntsman in it. He gets his own song. The art is done in that vivid Disney style. I mean, they really put their all in this. So if that's your taste, you're going to really like it. The second story about Sky Spider, though. So Sky Spider is the first appearance, and I know many people who come in here. I'm one of them. I like to collect all the firsts of Spider-Man. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of them.
I was about to say, there's plenty of those.
That's okay with me. I don't mind. And Sky Spider is from sort of a Conan world, where it's just sort of a very harsh, messed up world. I don't think they're playing right off of Conan, but that's the way I'm going to compare it. And pretty much this witch infects a woman where her children are messed up. She has like 10 kids and only one of them lives. And this one has normal limbs, arms and hands. I was laughing on the last show about what a weird sentence that is. But also 4 spider legs in addition. So picture that. Like there's a panel with a baby who has 4 spider legs in addition to arms and hands. Well, of course, the mom has to hide this kid because the village is not going to accept it. Well, the kid grows up and is waiting for his chance to show the village he's not bad. He gets his chance, but will he prevail and will the village actually accept him? You'll have to read the story to find out. I won't spoil that part of it. All right, here are the variants. Here is the Yarden variant with Sky Spider grown up. And here is the Casanovas variant, which I like that one quite a bit.
Okay, next up, I've got World Tree number 2. So this is really interesting because they had the printing issue with the first one, so it feels like there's been a longer delay between issues 1 and 2 than was originally intended.
They had a misprint where it was printed too dark.
Yes.
I wonder if this one, they're like, we got to double check this.
Yes, this is perfectly light and readable.
Because that could be a too dark cover
It could.
otherwise. That's already pretty dark.
So I really like this issue. I was very excited because the first issue I was a lot of setup, but like in a good way. Like there was still a lot of story. But this one, I feel like, is the one that's introducing kind of our cast of characters. We got our character Fear in the first one, PH4. What is it?
It's elite speak spelling.
PH34R, Fear, who is maybe not even human. We don't quite know, but is this very looming presence to the entire thing. This woman who is part of this undernet, darknet type thing. Well, in this issue, we get to see kind of the fallout of what happened in the first issue. There was a boy who went on this this internet, this world tree. I think it's called the Undernet. And something about that, like, really corrupts you in every way. He went on a killing spree through his town. Well, this is the fallout from that, where we follow up with his brother, who was the last person to see him before Fear showed up and it all went crazy. We are introduced to 2 investigators who are named Shaban Silk and Nikki Gallo, who I just wrote in the notes is the worst. He's just a terrible person. But I could see Steve Buscemi playing a fantastic version of him. But so we're getting a little bit of what do the kind of the higher powers, what do they know about this this undernet and the weird stuff going on there. So we learned they know a little bit more. They've been tracking Fear for, I think they say, like the last couple of months. But also we follow up more with the now adults who were teenagers when they locked off the undernet originally and started the kind of the chat group of World Tree where they worked on that. But then we also get introduced to 2 other characters who know quite a bit about all of this and know about Fear and seem to be maybe the ones who are trying to stop the spread of this secret internet. So there's a lot going on in this issue, but I really liked it. It didn't feel like too much. It didn't feel like too many characters. They all had their place, which I thought was really cool, that, you know, you kind of want to know what do each of these know and how is this story going to bring them all together. So another great issue of World Tree. Can't wait to see where this goes. It has enough of the kind of real world horror mixed with some kind of possibly supernatural or sci-fi or some extra element going on that I think adds a lot of flavor to it. So that is our A cover. And here is our variant by Danny with Fear on there. Just a heads up, she really doesn't like wearing clothes and does not wear any for the entire issue. We have this 1 in 25 Romero variant that we're selling for $25. And we also have, in case you missed it, the second printing of number 1 came out as well. So if you think this is going to be a hot one, want to get all the printings, don't miss this one.
Okay, I read a new indie book from Image Comics. It is The Savage Strength of Starstorm. This is by Drew Craig, who is also our cover artist here. He did it all. He drew the cover, he did the interior art, and he did the story. He is the older brother of Wes Craig. Wes Craig is behind the comic Kaya, for those of you who know that. And apparently his younger brother putting out a comic inspired him, and he said, hey, I'm going to do it. I always wanted to do that too. So The Savage Strength of Starstorm It is about this this sort of, I think he's high school, college age. It was hard to tell because he's out of school, and I couldn't quite tell. I think it was high school, but his name is Grant Garrison, and he was found roaming the streets with amnesia. And I love that comics will do this. That the teacher's like, hey, I know you have amnesia, so just tell the kids you're staying at my place. It's like, where are the police?
Yeah.
And, why is he not in an institution? But that's okay. I love that. Amnesia is always such a neat
It's
hook.
kind of an 80s movie trope of like, don't worry about.
Correct. Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. So he's meeting people at high school. There's the typical high school drama. But when an asteroid nearly strikes, he suddenly is transported somewhere where he gets powers from the space entity that you could kind of assume from the amnesia. Now you're getting these powers. You're part of something much, much larger. And I will say there is art towards the beginning to show that's true. I mean, there's huge like space fleets and armadas. And so he gets these like cosmic sort of powers, has to battle a bad guy, but he's still this new person who's supposed to be going to high school. So it's all like that. The art is very much like the cover. I mean, that the interior artist did this. So if you think this is your jam, this is the art on the inside. What I did like about the art is it had a real feeling like the creator was having a good time doing it. Mm-hmm. That's what I told Andy while I was reading. I was like, look at this panel. But I will say it does have an anomaly. It has what should have been a 2-page spread, but somehow something went haywire and it's on one page, and then you have to turn the page to see the rest of the spread.
Yeah.
Which I read a lot of comics. I have rarely seen that.
Especially because there's a speech bubble that it chops in half.
Broken up. Definitely an accident, but it happens. I'm calling it a comic oddity. Even though it was an accident, kind of a mistake, I was like, this is kind of interesting. It's definitely not what was intended, but there we go. There's an example I can point to. Anyhow, that is what is going on in the first issue of The Savage Strength of Starstorm. There is a variant by his younger brother, by Wes, right here. And that is it.
Next up, I've got Star Wars Dr. Aphra number 32. So this is an issue I've been really looking forward to. This is close to, I don't want to say new number 1, but it definitely is a jumping on point if you have been wanting to read Dr. Aphra. Dr. Aphra, the series, has had probably one of the most tight cast of new Star Wars characters that, not that it was impenetrable if you're trying to get into it, but these characters started in the beginning of her first volume and built up and had connections throughout the entire thing. So it was a pretty dense story. It was very rich, but also kind of hard to jump into. Well, this, after the last one, the cast kind of parted ways and they wrapped up a lot of their stories. This one, essentially, there's, kind of the cast list in the beginning. It is Dr. Aphra, Luke Skywalker, and R2-D2 are the 3 characters in this book, which I think makes, a very easy way for new readers to get into it. So what happens is Aphra, we find in the very beginning, we don't even really see how it happens. She has kidnapped Luke Skywalker and has him bound up in a trunk in her ship, but only to find out that she really just needs his help because she has discovered a hologram that tells of a lost Jedi temple that, as an archaeologist and kind of a pirate that she is, she wants to get into, look for artifacts. But she also knows Luke would be interested in this. And on Luke's own journey, he is trying to discover more about the Force. He's trying to find out how to build a new lightsaber because his is like an old flashlight where the batteries are running out. He has to hit the butt of it to get it to come back on. So he reluctantly decides to join Aphra on this trip. This is a really interesting story, too, because, one, you've got the small cast, but the place they go to where the Jedi Temple is very unexpected, and what they find there, the last page reveal, is something, as a big Star Wars fan, I'm trying to figure out, and it makes me excited. I feel like people are going to be talking about it at least until the next issue comes out where it's explained, because my canon in my head is going, well, this can't be happening because of the time frame and all this. So really interesting final page that is really intriguing for stuff coming up. So that is Star Wars Dr. Aphra number 32. We also have this Shock T variant that is very interesting. And this issue says featuring Jedi Master Shock T. That is not far from the truth. So you'll have to read it to find out why this Clone Wars era character is in this issue. We also have the Solo, was the 5th anniversary variant with Darth Maul.
All right, so I read Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis number 5. This is the finale. This is the last issue of Steve Orlando's newest miniseries in the 2099 universe. He's been kind of building up. In this issue, can Spider-Man 2099 and his allies, old and new, defeat this new Carnage 2099 and his villainous allies? You'll have to read it to find out. But here's a few things that are cool. I had some questions with issue 4 as far as who was this Punisher 2099. Was it the one we have seen in previous 2099 I'm losing my word. Incarnations.
Incarnations, yes.
Was it the one from the 1992 Punisher 2099 stuff or not? Was it a new one? Because he just seemed like, I don't know, a little different.
Less human, too.
Yeah, well, in this, first off, there is a new microchip. So I'm calling it First Microchip 2099. I don't know how much that's going to matter.
We'll see if that gets a spin-off series.
Yeah, but you get to see what parts of the Punisher are still human. And I have to say, it's less than RoboCop. I mean, it's gruesome. I showed it to Andy.
Of full body to RoboCop, where are you?
It's pretty disturbing. The other cool thing in this issue is it is confirmed that the Daredevil in it is the one from Marvel Knights 2099. Mm-hmm. It's just he is retired and he's back with a new suit to kind of help in this. So I just wanted to go ahead and clarify a few things. But anyway, with this issue, will they be able to defeat Carnage? Will they be able to tear Punisher 2099 from under the control of Alchemax, who is kind of controlling him? You'll have to read to find out for yourself. But it's a good ending. It is a really great series and with a fitting ending. I will say the art on this, though, it almost felt a little rushed to me, but it did work in the way that there's a lot of explosions and a lot of symbiote stuff because of Carnage. So you could kind of say, well, it's just because of that. But to me, it also looked a little bit rushed. And with an issue number 5, sometimes they'll do that. Yeah. So here is the Ken Lashley variant for that.
Okay, next up, I have a really interesting one that we don't see too often. It is the Rocketeer. So this is a one-shot featuring this great Adam Hughes cover for the A cover. And it's kind of an anthology. It is an anthology, but not a very, big anthology. There's not a ton of stories. I think there's, 3 main stories, and they vary in length. So the first story is the Adam Hughes drawn one. That was really fun. It's kind of what the Rocketeer he was inspired by when he met Amelia Earhart. And, it's not a grand adventure to be like, I've got to rescue Amelia Earhart. It's kind of more of reminiscing about how she inspired him to become a pilot and his interaction he had with her one time and stuff. It's a really nice story. There's another story that focuses on Betty, his love interest, that's very fun. And also there's a story with art by Jay Lee. And if it has any dialogue, it's not much, but I don't remember any in it. But his art doing Rocketeer is beautiful. I saw that, I was like, I really want to read more of Jay Lee doing the Rocketeer. But there is also quite a few pinups in the back and a kind of retrospective on Dave Stevens. Just a lot of, I would say this is less of a Rocketeer anthology and more of a love letter to Dave Stevens and his creation of the Rocketeer. But really cool, especially if you are a fan of that character. It's not like you are, going broke buying all the Rocketeer stuff out there. So definitely check out this one-shot issue. We also have this Gabriel Rodriguez variant. It's very nice. And we have this 1 in 10 Adam Hughes Virgin variant that we are currently selling for $50.
All right, so another new independent series I read this week is Catfight #1 from IDW. So look at the cover. It has some very colorful characters on it, and this is a multi-generational criminal cat burglar family. And they don't all work together, though. That's the thing. It's sort of like each generation has their own way they've been doing it, and they kind of disagree on how to be a criminal. I would like to let you guys know this is written by Andrew Wheeler with art by Ilias Kyriazis. And it's a lot of cat references, first off, okay? In the title, they're, cat fight, they're cat burglars. You have characters. The main character is named Felix. There's a character named Tabitha, Tabby Cat. There's Schrodinger. I mean...
Is there Garfield?
Not yet. Okay. But, I mean, it's just issue #1. So
there's so many fictional cats they could call upon.
This follows Felix. He is the character who you see down here, and he is the newest generation of cat burglar. He lives a lavish lifestyle that he funds through burglary. Yeah, he always owes money. It's always like no matter what he steals, he always spends too much, and people are after him. Well, the matriarch of the family, his grandmother, who you see in the background here, she's the sort of person where when he won't pick up his phone call, she'll have him drugged. He just wakes up and it's like, you had to be drugged? Well, you wouldn't answer your phone for your grandma. And she tells some family tales where the gist of it is that something her gang did back in the old days has been unearthed, and there are people that are after her and the whole family, and it might be up to Felix to kind of be able to save them all. I like it. It's a great crime premise. The characters were very colorful and very, they felt fleshed out. Felt like the writer really had some good characters to talk about here. You don't really get to meet Felix's mom yet, too, and you could tell she's going to be a big part of it as well. So I know it leans maybe even a little too heavy into all the cat theme, but it doesn't seem like that's the only trick it has up its sleeve. So, pretty good first issue there.
Not the only trick it has up its paw.
Up its paw, yeah. And I was going to say Felix is the black sheep, or rather black cat of the family. I didn't get to that, but he kind of is. You can tell he's doing things different than either of his mom or his grandmother is doing. And it may have a variant. We might have already sold out of the variant. Like, we do polls first, but I don't have one to show you, so just this cover.
I actually think it's pretty smart just to have such a, pick your theme and go hard on it. Like, cat burglar, cats, all that. It's like, it ends up creating, it's almost like a Pixar movie. They got the one big hook, and we can build everything around that hook. So I think that's a really colorful and interesting idea.
Well, I'm sure they had to wrestle with, should we give them tails too?
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Did they carry around their belts, hang out their backs like tails, and they wear little ears? Okay, next up, we have Saturday Morning Adventures Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Continue. So I'm going to say this was one of my favorite reads of the week. And I'm already a big Ninja Turtles fan, but there's something to, and I love the ongoing Ninja Turtles series, but there's something about the homaging of the original cartoon show that's just joyful. It's so much fun. So in this one, this is by Eric Burnham, and the art is by Tim Laddie and Jack Lawrence. Just set up like a classic Ninja Turtles episode. There is a van that's going, they're transporting chemicals, but they have to swerve out of the way, and one of the vials flies out of the van, goes in the sewer, and one of Rat King's rats brings it to him to show it to him. But it's cracked, and it sprays him in the face. All of a sudden, Rat King finds out he can no longer control rats, but when he tries to, he's like, oh, come back here, because they all run away. Meanwhile, the Ninja Turtles in their lair, about to dig into some totally rad pizza, hear the voice saying, come back here. And come to find out that formula has changed Rat King's powers to now he can control reptiles with his powers. And what makes it fun is it's not like the Ninja Turtles are like zombies. They still have their personalities, but they can't help but work for Rat King as he decides, hey, at first he's like, I want to be able to control rats again. That's my thing. But he realizes there's a lot of other villains that are very mean to me, including Shredder. I'm going to use the Ninja Turtles for my own benefit to make me the number one criminal in the city.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, control rats or control Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Yeah. Him starting to realize it is really funny. So the art looks, I would say it's not like identical to the cartoon, but it is so of the spirit, and the style and everything is so right on that it's so much fun. It feels like it could be a show. The previous Saturday Morning Adventure Ninja Turtle series was one-shots that told individual kind of episodic issues, but this one is going to be a, not ongoing, but a longer form story. So we just get the first part of this. All your favorites are there: Shredder, Bebop, Rocksteady, April, all the Turtles. Very fun. Also very self-aware of what they are, like what the trope of the old show was. They do a little fourth wall breaking when, they'll reference that they need a plot point to go in the right direction. So they'll just be like, we're doing this because it's part of the plot. Don't worry about it. Just very fun. So if you're a Ninja Turtles fan, if you want to have a good time, highly recommend this one. Plus, I don't know if it's on one of the covers, but the Ninja Turtles get new robotic rat suits, because apparently Rat King is not happy with them looking like turtles. He misses, the big Mickey Mouse ears of rats, so they get some really fun suits in that. That was our A cover. We also have, this is the Dan Schoening variant. We have the Meyer variant. And we have a 1 in 10 Dooney variant that we're selling to our customers for $10.
All right, so this is Doctor Strange number 3, and it has quite a compelling cover with, it's sort of like a Dormammu Strange. I will just go ahead and say that this is, as compelling as it is, it does not happen in this issue. But there is a lot of Dormammu and Strange. This is a good representation of what happens in this issue in the way that Strange and Dormammu go over their long history together. So let me tell you a little bit more. So last issue, Strange and Clea learned that Agamon, a very powerful warlord sorcerer supreme, had been murdered. Okay, so you think that's what this issue is going to be about, but it is not. That's definitely the overall plot that's happening in this arc. But what happens in this issue is almost a standalone, but it was really good. So it's also the day, so once they learn this, it's also the day, apparently Dormammu has one day of each year where he meets with Strange, and it's on neutral ground, and they just kind of talk about magic stuff, and just, it's the one time, it's sort of like a peaceful
ceasefire
day. Yeah,
thing.
ceasefire. Right, but Dormammu, he has to show up. He can't show up in his godlike form. He basically takes over the body of one of his followers and is able to be sort of a man with a Dormammu head. But the problem is, and Strange points this out, that the follower is going to die. Like, there's no way that he can have Dormammu in him for that long without dying. And Dormammu right off the bat's like, oh well, do you know who I am? Let's talk turkey, Strange. So the rest of the issue, it's done really well. A lot of really good dialogue. They go over sort of things they've done with or for and against each other, and it references a lot of past Doctor Strange stuff. You don't have to have read it at all. You'll get what's going on. But if you have read old stuff, it's cool to see them referencing that. But what I will tell you is Strange has a very dangerous plan that he hatches during this that I didn't see coming, and that's pretty interesting and gets resolved by the end of this. It's a very well-written, satisfying issue of Doctor Strange, issue number 3. And here we have the variant by In-hyuk Lee. And we have another variant by Ryan Stegman.
Well, next up for me, I've got Punisher, issue 12. And what I didn't realize is this is the last issue of Punisher, at least for a while, but Jason Aaron even has kind of a farewell letter in the back of it. And given what happens in the story, you'll see why. So, in this, the previous issue is when Punisher's revived wife shot him because she was not happy with how Punisher is now.
She's like, I'm going to give you a taste of your own medicine.
Basically, and so we pick up right there where the leader of this group that Punisher has been the kind of the fist for, he has one last kind of gasp that he can unleash some power, and it's the last issue. You can pretty much guess what happens, but the mysterious thing is that Punisher disappears. Even Doctor Strange says he's no longer even in this dimension. So you'll have to read to find out what that means. But there's some other surprise things. I don't want to give too much away because it is the last issue, but I'll say there's some characters that I did not expect to still be around at the end of this. And there is a lot of teases for what's coming up in the future with Punisher, including kind of an after the credits scene that doesn't say like to be continued anywhere, like doesn't give you like, oh, coming in, Punisher, blah, 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 new series or anything. But you can tell there is a Punisher related book coming in the near future that I think is going to be very interesting. So if you've been enjoying this run of Punisher, I think this is a satisfying conclusion, but with enough threads left that I think a lot of stories are going to come out of this run. So there is our A cover. And we also have, this is not a spoiler, he does not become Spider-Man. This is the Spider-Verse variant by Cassaday. But man, wouldn't that be a shocker if at the end it's like, psych, I'm actually Spider-Man.
I want to see him become the new Ms. Marvel.
Oh, that's true. It's open.
Okay, so I read this new one from Whatnot, also known as Massive. It is called the North Valley Grimoire, issue number 1. So this was actually one of my 5 picks of the week on our shorter video. This is written by Blake Northcott, who originally did this as a novel. It was on Kickstarter back in 2018. It was, I think, the biggest book that was raised the most money on Kickstarter, and it was just sort of a hit ever after. So this is an adaptation of that book, but she does say there's a good author statement at the end where she says she's actually changing some stuff. She is definitely altering it to make it an even better comic. And what I would say is I think it really helps us start it as a book because the dialogue is good, the characters seem fleshed out, it feels like a well-considered world. Mm-hmm. But more than that, the art is done by Giuseppe Cafaro. Giuseppe's art in this is really, really good. I mean, you see a cover like this, you always hope the interiors are going to be good, and the interiors are really good. It felt to me almost like like an old DC Vertigo book. Mm-hmm. So the premise of it follows a magician, and his job is to stop people from misusing magic. In particular, people have started being able to take powerful spells and cross them into technological things. So it doesn't take a magician to have to do it. It used to be like to do a powerful spell, you have to study forever. And during that time, you're going to gain some wisdom and perspective. But now, no. You could just have a pocket watch, and it has some powerful spell it does because it's imbued in the technology. Well, that's very, very dangerous. And so our main character's job is to try to stop that. In this issue, he finds out that there's a very powerful grimoire that has to do with all this that's being auctioned off. So he tries to stop the auction, and the grimoire ends up getting teleported away suddenly to North Valley, which is a place in Virginia. It's kind of close to maybe, I think, where the CIA headquarters is in Langley. So he has to figure out why it's there, how it got there. It ends up in the hands of this young girl who we see on the cover, and she kind of feels like she needs its power. And so it seems like there's going to be a big struggle between trying to get it from her. I don't know enough to know. I never read the book to know, is she our main character? Is he? Is it sort of shared? I'm not sure, but I will say this is just a well-made comic. The story is solid. And I'm just surprised, I've said a lot of the Whatnot stuff. The covers are great, but a lot of times the books themselves, they're just not my thing, or they're a little loose with the writing. The art is not as good as the covers. This one is probably the best one I've seen. For me to compare it to DC Vertigo stuff. You go.
That's high praise.
Yep. So it shocked me, but I calls them as I sees them. So that's my review of it. Here we have some great variants. I mean, they have good variants.
I was about to say,
Whatnot has had a lot of really good covers, so this isn't the strange to it, though. But here's the Nakayama cover. I remember when this is on Comics from the Future, I was saying that he was drawing from Aubrey Plaza with that face and that expression.
One, I'm shocked that it got this artist.
I know. Sean Murphy did one. So I'm wondering if some of these people didn't read the book and were like, oh, that book was good. And then there is, of course, the trademark Whatnot video game variant for it as well.
Okay, next up, I've got Star Wars Santa Starros. This is number 4. I believe it has 1 issue left, so time is running out as Santa and Deva Lumpop are trying to get to and rescue Santa's cousin and her grandmother. All the while, Santa's cousin is pregnant, about to give birth, while being held captive by the Empire. So it's kind of one of those, the clock's running out type things. It has some great moments where, Santa just, her and Deva Lumpop, the kind of the comic character that's been in so many different Star Wars books, she basically just lets Santa beat up on her because she's like, does that make you feel better or whatever? It's actually a really fun scene, but great issue. Very excited to see what happens at the end of this, because what it does really well is that thing in a comic where the issue before things need to be resolved, you go, I don't see how they're going to resolve this. They're too far apart. There's too many things in their way. How are they going to do this? But, of course, they'll find a way. So, another great issue of Santa Starros. And we have this solo 5th anniversary cover, this time with Donald Glover Lando.
All right, I read Carnage issue number 13, which is part of the Carnage Reigns plotline, and that is part of our Summer of Symbiotes, which has just begun. So in this issue, or I should start with last issue, Carnage has the Extrembiote armor. It is an armor developed by Tony Stark during the King in Black plotline to go up against Null and his minions. So this is a powerful, powerful suit of armor. But last issue, Miles hit him with the Venom shock thing, and it busted the armor. So Carnage had to retreat. Well, in this issue, he's like, hey, it did give me some ideas, but I got to get this armor repaired. So in this issue, where's he going to go? He's going to go to one of Tony Stark's old facilities to wreak havoc to get his armor repaired. Also in this issue, and I've been waiting for this to happen, Kenneth Neely, the serial killer who's been hanging out with Carnage, then now he's hanging out with Cletus Cassidy, he finally has his chance. That's right. He is going to get bonded with a symbiote, but I will say it happens not in the way that he wants at all. Who would have seen that coming? Nothing good happens to this guy. But then again, he's a terrible person.
Yeah, so
it's all right. Yeah. And lastly, can it be a good thing for Carnage to be able to bond with technology, to be able to get into electricity and things like that? Does that bode well for the city? I'll tell you, this plot line, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And, I mean, that's obviously what they're doing. I mean, It's the beginning of the Summer of Symbiotes, so they're really setting Carnage up to be a bigger and badder thing than ever. And really, not even just Carnage, because, I mean, he's separate from Cletus Cassidy. It's actually more Cletus Cassidy is getting bigger and badder. So check out issue 13 of Carnage. And here we have the Stegman variant. And we have the Scan variant.
And next up, I've got Alien number 2. So this is cool. The first issue definitely focused on this family who are out kind of trying to make their way in the galaxy, looking for water. They were kind of like water miners looking for, because they know if they found water on a planet, that means it's a good planet and they can set up shop there. This one kind of shifts the focus over to more of like the Weyland-Yutani big business. They've got a facility set up on this planet, and of course when it comes to them, they can't help but awaken a whole hive of dormant xenomorphs. So most of this issue is like, I like how it's like the first issue, we didn't get much of the xenomorphs or the face huggers or anything. We saw them like frozen in ice. This one, they're like, okay, you're going to get like an all-out attack by them. So very action-packed, very bloody issue, but a good balance from, you know, you've got kind of the like brooding terror of the issue 1 that felt more like Alien 1 to this one, which felt more like Aliens. So I really enjoyed it. It's Alien number 2. And we have this really nice variant. This is the Johnson variant.
All right, I read Venom Lethal Protector 2, issue number 3. So in this issue, Venom, you know, he's teamed up with Silver Sable in the Wild Pack. Well, they're going up against Vanguard. Well, Vanguard contacts Eddie Brock, and they're like, hey, we got your friend here, Eddie, and if you don't quit working for Silver Sable and leave us alone, we're going to start torturing him. Well, it has the exact wrong effect. I mean, Eddie and Venom are like, oh, really? Let's just go after them, just flat out. They just completely disregard the threat. And him and Silver Sable go after Vanguard. It's a very violent, bloody issue. But also what's really interesting is what Dr. Doom is up to. And towards the end of this issue, Dr. Doom looks like he is going to have an offer for Eddie Brock. That's not two that you see together too often. I'm really interested in where this goes next issue, because that was sort of towards the end. So that's what's happening in Venom Lethal Protector 2, issue number 3. And here we have the tan variant.
I love the A cover too. It's kind of like a classic Nick Fury cover type thing. Okay, and my last one is Star Wars High Republic Adventures number 5. So this series is about to take, put the pedal to metal, as we're going to get 3 issues, possibly in 1 week, in a couple of weeks. They had to hit their scheduling goal for all the High Republic Phase 2 books. So get ready. You're going to be finishing off this story faster than you thought you were. But this issue is really cool. This, the way this story's been going, it's been pretty separate from what's going on with all the other High Republic books. It's been following a young Jedi who's taken up with Maz Kanata's pirates. But in this one, it's starting to pull back into the big conflict that's going on with Phase 2, which is the big fight on Jeddah, which the main Marvel Star Wars High Republic book has been covering. But now you have all your heroes from the Avengers book in Jeddah. And what I've liked that this series has done, which is very unique, it will take moments to almost do a like breakdown of what's going on. So I think in the first, I forgot what the early one did where it was like this, but in this one, it basically shows you a big picture of the fight going on in Jeddah and does little like things and little zoom in panels being like, these are these people, this is why they're fighting, these are these people, it's like, that's actually a really cool, helpful thing, and helps you picture kind of the greater story going on by breaking it into little pieces just to clarify what's going on. So I thought that was really cool. The art in this is fantastic. There's some double page spreads in this that I feel like are, you know, super underrated. No one's, I feel like, talking as much about the art in this, but it's fantastic. So another great issue of Star Wars High Republic Adventures. And get ready, because you'll be getting 3 more issues of this sooner than later.
And that's got to be because Dark Horse changed their distributor from Diamond to Penguin, and it delayed everything. And so typically things get delayed, you know, yeah, they push them back, but they push them all back. But like you said, they have some sort of schedule.
They have a schedule for the phases of Star Wars, and I know the Phase 2, like the final book for that came out. The Marvel series ended, and so they have to get it out by a certain date so they can start the next planning.
That's really interesting.
So, yep. So, but, you know, props to them and the entire creative team on this. I know some of the people who work on it, they have been busting their butts to get all of this stuff done in time and keep that quality up, and they have. It's still fantastic, so great job to all of the High Republic team at Dark Horse. It's really good.
All right, so that is our part 2 of our early comic reviews.
It's a little bit longer than the part 1 was.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the lion's share of them.
Yep.
We just went over 17 books. We showed the variants. We showed some of the incentives. So I hope everything we've done will help you when you go to your comic store and know what to order. Don't forget, if you want to order these, you could go to our website at infinityflux.net. They're all up for order right now. And a big thank you to everyone who has ordered with us.
Yes.
We've got a lot of new subscribers. It's great that people watch our show and then they want to support us a little bit too.
Yep.
We very much appreciate that. So I'll be on the videos just a little bit less. Luckily, we have Matt tagging in for me. We are expanding our store, and there's just a lot of stuff that has to get done that I'm just sort of in the head of.
Yeah.
And I just don't have any time. But I'll still be in here a lot of Mondays as much as I can be. You know I'm still reading the comics anyway,
Yep.
so I might as well. Anyhow, thanks for watching our show. We'll be back on Friday with Comics from the Future and our top comic picks in a flash. Until then, have a great rest of your week.
See ya.